Hey guys, my name is Jess. In this video I'm going to be telling you a bit more about morning pages. So morning pages are these things that I came across in the book called The Artist's Way, and it's written by Julia Cameron. And I started reading this book in 2016. One of my friends lent it to me, and it really was definitely the thing that pushed me into having a more creative life. I didn't have 44 or I wasn't making videos, I wasn't expressing myself, any of that before I came across this book. This definitely did help me push through fear and do the things that I wanted to do. So one of the concepts that this book makes or uses or mentions, should I say, now that I've just gone through the whole dictionary, but one of the concepts that they use is this thing called morning pages. So when you wake up in the morning, you should take 3 pieces of paper and then just write until you fill up the pieces of paper. And there's absolutely no rules of what you can write. You can write absolutely anything. You're basically just writing your thoughts on a piece of paper, and it's something that you should do every day. So that's what morning pages is. And I started doing it in 2016, as I said. And first I was just doing it on a little exam pad. I didn't use a book or anything. And then I ended up just putting it all, I'm not going to show you what I've written, but I just filled it all up. I filled the file up with all my morning pages, and I did that for about 3 months. And even just after the first week or 2, I noticed some really big changes in my life. I was so much more productive. That was a big thing for me. I actually got up and decided to clean, because I'm somebody who is quite bad with cleaning and hoarding and that sort of thing. And I had like a mountain of notes all over my desk from university, and then just after a week of doing morning pages, I actually got up and cleaned it all away, and that to me was like really big. Even my mom was like, oh wow, who are you now? You actually did some cleaning. But yeah, and then as I said, after I'd been doing morning pages for quite a while, I started making videos. And what was interesting about morning pages is, because it's fundamental, well, it's basically 25 minutes of writing every single day, because you have to fill the paper up with something. For me, I ended up starting admitting things that I wanted to do. So before that, in my head, I'd be like, oh yeah, I really want to make YouTube videos, but I don't want to tell anyone that because then I'm going to have to think about jumping into that fear and doing it. So I would kind of just ignore it. But then with morning pages, there's nothing else to write. So I would admit the things that I was scared of. And what was cool was that through morning pages, I actually encouraged myself to do the scary thing. And it wasn't something that happened after one day. It wasn't like, oh yeah, like I admitted it once, now I'm hopping up and making a YouTube channel, YouTube videos and that. It wasn't that at all. It took a few weeks for me to finally do it. But yeah, so I'd been doing that for about 3 months, and then I stopped doing it. And then every now and again I would kind of do morning pages for about a month. And I avoided morning pages a lot when I was you know, when you feel like your life isn't exactly on the right path and you haven't it's like when you're trying to avoid responsibility. Basically, it was the period where I didn't want to do morning pages, because then I would have to start admitting bad habits to myself, or I would have to start writing out my fears. So I didn't do morning pages for super long, and I was having a very chaotic year. And yeah, and then last year in 2019, I decided to make a New Year's resolution, and I said that I was going to do morning pages every single day. And I actually have done it every single day for just about 2 years now. And these are all my books that I've filled up. So it's not done yet. So those are all the books that I've filled up for the last 2 years, and it's just, I don't know what I would be without morning pages. Honestly, it helps me so much, as I say, definitely with embracing something and stepping into something new or admitting your fears, but also it helps a lot with emotional reactions to things. So say if I've just had an argument with someone and I feel like pushing them through the window, I can get morning pages and write it out, and it helps me not push the person through the window. It just helps me with my emotional control, and it helps me put myself in the other person's shoes and think about what they're thinking about. So how I've changed morning pages to fit my life: I don't wake up and do it in the morning anymore because I feel like it doesn't always work for me personally, and I think it's better to actually just do something any time in the day as opposed to not doing it at all. So for me, I just do it every single day at any time. It could be at midnight. Sometimes I do it like at 1 in the morning for the next day. It just has to get done. And I also don't write 3 pages anymore. I just set a timer for 25 minutes and I write in a journal. So as I said, I'm not writing on pieces of paper anymore, or like single pieces of paper. I'm writing in a journal, and that's just, it's nice because like you have all your morning pages with you. And then in terms of, does it ever get boring? Yes, there are days where it's super boring and you're just like, when is the timer going to go off? It does get really boring, and there's times where you like really have to push yourself through it, or sometimes when there's nothing going on in your life, you really have no idea what to write about, but you have to come up with something. But then there are other days where it's really fun and 25 minutes isn't enough. Like there's some days where I could just write, and it like goes through stages where it can be super boring, and then next second it's like the best thing ever, and you just love it. Well, that's what it's like for me. So you might be wondering how I do morning pages, so I'm just going to show you as an example. So I always start off with the dates. So today is the 30th of August. In the past I didn't used to do this, but then I just decided to do it because it's quite nice sometimes to put the date. And then then I set the timer, and then I just write anything. Hello, my name is Jess. Like I can literally write something like this. Morning pages. Etc, etc. And then another question is, do I ever read my morning pages, or are you supposed to read them? So in the beginning, well, in the book The Artist's Way, Julia Cameron actually says that you shouldn't read it immediately, because then you can judge yourself and you can judge what you've written. And I think she said you should only do it every 12 weeks you should read. So every 3 months maybe you can read what you've written. For me, I did start reading it, and then I stopped it because I didn't want to, because sometimes you can write very emotional things, or if you're going through a stage where you feel like an emotional wreck, or you feel chaotic, or you have these certain thoughts or whatever, you can write them in morning pages. And then if you were to read over that, like what happened to me was I'd get back into those thoughts and I would bring back, for example, that negativity into my life, or I would be like reminded of the insecurities I actually forgot about. And once that happened, I was like, you know, I don't want to read it anymore. For me, morning pages are more about the actual process of writing as opposed to now going back and reading about what we've written. But of course, it's completely up to you. Like I say, I stopped doing it because I didn't want to put myself in that space anymore. But then it can also be nice because reading over it, because like for me, sometimes I record memories in it, or it's nice to go back to an event in my life and think, oh, what did I think about that? But yeah, so it's definitely up to you. So that's all I have to say about morning pages. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them below and I'll try to answer them. And yeah, if you have been doing morning pages, let me know how it's been, or if you started doing them after watching this video. I'd love to know if it worked for you. It might not work for everyone. I do realize that there's lots of different things, and some things just don't work with some people. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely try if you feel like it. And don't just do it for 3 days and be like, this is boring, because chances are pretty good it's going to be super boring for at least the first week, maybe even the first month. But it's like once you get through that month, maybe things will start changing. So yeah, let me know, guys, and have an awesome day. Bye, guys.